Welcome back to our beginner series. In this video, we're going to be tackling the buffing and filing process. You're going to be starting out with one of two nail files depending on how many lumps and bumps you've got. The 80/80 is the most gritty one, so start with that one if you've got some serious filing to do. And if you've just got a few lumps and bumps and a bit of smoothing to do, go with your 100/180. You can see on this hand I've already gone around the outside. The first step that I like to do when I'm buffing is to go around the cuticle area, the side walls and the tips so I can get my shape how I want it before I tackle the surface of the nail. I haven't done this hand yet. This is the one that I'm still going to do. You can see it's still pretty lumpy and bumpy and there's dip everywhere. But we're going to go in first of all and neaten up that cuticle area. And we're going to choose which side we want. I'm going to go with the slightly rougher side to start with, but you can choose depending on what you need for your nails. It'll vary from set to set depending on whether you use glitter or how messy you've been. There's no right or wrong, you just get to choose. So you can see here I'm going around in a semicircle motion before heading up the side walls and then round to the tip to give my shape. I'm going for a bit of a almond/stiletto shape in this one. I'm a bit of a fan of the stabby stabs at the moment, so that's what we're doing. So we're just going around that cuticle area to get it really nice and smooth and just stop the dip from being on the skin or anywhere that we don't want it. We're also starting to taper it down a little bit, so any big ridges that we get are just going to be smoothed out for a really nice transition from nail to dip. You can see here that I'm just shaping out that tip to get it exactly how I want it. And then I'm repeating the process across all my fingers. Starting off with that semicircular shape around the cuticle area, then working my way up the side wall and up to the tip of the nail. You can see here that I'm really pushing down the skin of my finger so I can really get in there to get into those side walls for a really nice smooth shape. One of the things we do see with beginning dippers a lot is the side walls kind of get ignored, and it is an area that really makes your nails look a bit more messy compared to when you can get in there and get them beautiful and smooth. Much more professional look when you're really focusing on those side areas and getting them straight and smooth. Just notice where I'm holding my file. I'm holding it on the side, and the reason I do this is because you don't need to press hard. I like to have my file gliding across the nail. If you're pressing too hard, it's actually going to make it harder because you're trying to get the pressure to get rid of the bumps, whereas you should be letting the file do the work. Let the file do all the heavy lifting and do the job for you rather than needing to press too hard. Alright, and you can see that this is looking pretty good. We've got the outside perimeter of our nails looking pretty smooth and nicely shaped, and it's starting to look a lot more like our finished set's going to look. But you can see across the surface of the nail here, there are still some lumps and bumps and ridges that we want to buff out before we're all finished. Depending on how many lumps you've got, you might like to choose your 80 grit, but for this one, because we're reasonably smooth, I'm going to go with the 100-180 again. You can see across the surface of the nail there are some lumps and bumps that we do need to get out. And you can see again that I'm holding my file towards the end, and I'm going to let the file glide across the surface. We don't want to be applying pressure, we just want to let the file do all the work. As you go across the top of the nail, you will notice that there's sections of the nail, the valleys, that aren't touched by the buffer. This is a really good way to see whether you've done enough buffing or not, because if there's any bits of your nail that aren't being touched by that file, it shows that there's a dip there. So the more you just gently smooth those out, eventually those little valleys in your nail will be all evened out, and you'll have a really beautiful smooth surface that is all evenly buffed, and then you're ready to move on to the next nail. You can see that that's starting to look a lot better. There's not very many sections of the nail that haven't been buffed. You can see it's all fairly evenly etched, and there's not too many spaces that are showing any major dips or valleys anymore. So with the cuticle, when you're looking to smooth that out, what you want to do is go in at an angle. That's just going to stop it being a big ridge, and it's going to stop your nails looking too thick. So you can see here the angle that I've got my file is about a 45-degree angle, more or less. That's just going to really help marry in the dip to the cuticle line and stop any big ridges and stop the nail from looking too thick. And there we are. Now we're just going to go across them with a white buffing block just to get that beautiful final smoothness ready for our final finishing with our top coat. This process is usually pretty quick compared to the rest. And you know, sometimes you can even skip it, I reckon, but I like to do it just to get that beautiful finish. And it doesn't take long. This ring finger, I had to do a bit of extra work because I actually stuffed up my clear coat on top and it was really pretty lumpy. So a bit of extra effort, a bit of extra work into that one. But on the whole, I am super happy with this set.